Chapter 3, Anatomy for Sterile Processing Technicians. To process complex surgical instruments correctly, a central service technician must develop a thorough understanding of the human body. This knowledge allows the technician to understand why a surgeon requires a specific tool for a particular body part, and how that tool interacts with the patient's life functions. The study of the human body is scientifically divided into two main branches, known as anatomy and physiology. Anatomy is the study of the physical structure of the body and the specific relationships between its various parts, such as naming the different bones in the human leg. Physiology, on the other hand, is the study of the functions of those body parts and how they work together to maintain life, such as understanding how muscles contract to move that leg. To ensure clear communication in the medical field, healthcare professionals use a standard reference point known as the anatomical position. To visualize this position, imagine a person standing perfectly upright and facing forward. Their arms are at their sides with the palms of their hands facing outward toward the viewer, and their feet are placed flat on the floor, slightly apart. This standard position ensures that terms like left and right always refer to the patient's left and right, regardless of how the patient is positioned on the operating table. Using this universal map prevents critical errors during instrument set preparation and surgical planning. Furthermore, the body is often described through anatomical planes, which are imaginary lines used to divide the body into sections. For our audio study, visualize three distinct ways to cut through the human form. The first is the sagittal plane, which travels from front to back, dividing the body into right and left portions. The second is the frontal, or coronal, plane, which travels from side to side, dividing the body into front and back sections. Finally, the transverse, or axial, plane travels horizontally through the middle, dividing the body into top and bottom halves. Understanding these planes is essential for technicians when they are reviewing surgical schedules or preparing instrumentation for specific procedural approaches. By connecting these basic concepts, the sterile processing professional ensures that the clinical team has the exact tools required for a successful patient outcome. Once we understand the standard position and planes of the body, we must look at the microscopic building blocks that create the human form. The human body is organized in a highly structured hierarchy of complexity that begins at the microscopic level. The foundation of this hierarchy is the cell, which is the basic unit of life and the building block for every structure in the human body. To visualize a cell for our audio study, imagine a tiny, self-contained factory. The outer wall is the cell membrane, which controls what enters and leaves the cell. Inside the center is the nucleus, which acts as the brain or control center of the cell, containing the genetic blueprints for life. Filling the space between the wall and the center is the cytoplasm, a jelly-like fluid where all the biological work happens. When a group of similar cells work together to perform a specific function, they form what is known as a tissue. In the human body, there are four primary types of tissues that a technician must recognize to understand surgical procedures. Epithelial tissue acts as a protective covering for the internal and external surfaces of the body and many organs. Connective tissue provides support and binds other tissues together. This category includes interesting examples like bone and even blood. Muscular tissue is specialized for contraction and the production of movement, while nervous tissue is designed to transmit electrical messages between the brain and the rest of the body. The next level of complexity occurs when different types of tissues combine to create an organ. An organ is a structure, like the heart, the lungs, or the stomach, that performs a specialized task. For example, the heart is an organ made mainly of muscular tissue and connective tissue working together to pump blood. Finally, a group of organs that work together to perform a major body function is called a system, such as the circulatory system. Understanding this hierarchy helps the technician recognize that a failure in the cleaning or sterilization process can impact the patient at every level. A contaminated instrument can introduce pathogens that damage a single cell, which can eventually lead to the failure of an entire organ or body system. By protecting the patient at the microscopic level, the sterile processing professional acts as a guardian of the entire body. Building upon the microscopic building blocks of life, we must look at the largest system that defines our physical shape, which is the skeletal system. The adult skeletal system consists of 206 individual bones, along with the joints, cartilage, and ligaments that connect them. For the sterile processing technician, the skeletal system is more than just bone, because it represents the most common surgical cases involving heavy sets and complex implants. This system provides the essential framework for the entire body and is critical for both structural integrity and biological function. The skeletal system performs 4 primary functions that are vital for human health. The first function is support, which provides the body with its unique shape and allows us to stand upright. The second function is protection, as the skeleton acts as a hard shield for vital internal organs. To visualize this, imagine the skull protecting the brain and the rib cage protecting the heart and lungs. The third function is movement, where the bones act as levers that the muscles pull against to create physical motion. Finally, the skeletal system is essential for blood cell production, because red and white blood cells are created within the marrow found in the center of certain bones. This makes the skeletal system a vital participant in the immune and circulatory systems of the human body. Crucial to this system are joints, which are the specialized points where 2 or more bones meet to allow for movement and flexibility. These structures are supported by connective tissues such as cartilage, which cushions the bones, and ligaments, which connect bone directly to bone to provide stability. There are several types of joints, including ball and socket joints found in the hip and hinge joints found in the knee. Surgical procedures involving these joints, such as a total joint replacement, require highly specialized instrumentation to manage the delicate soft tissues and rigid bone structures. The sterile processing technician must ensure that all joint-related instruments are perfectly clean and functional, because any failure can lead to severe postoperative complications. By understanding that bone marrow and joint spaces can harbor significant organic debris, the technician acts as a guardian of the mechanical foundation of the patient. The 206 bones of the adult skeletal system are scientifically organized into 2 primary divisions, known as the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. To visualize these divisions for our study, imagine the skeleton as a central trunk with branches extending outward. The axial skeleton forms the central axis of the body and includes the skull, the vertebral column, and the rib cage. These bones are designed primarily to provide a rigid shield for the most vital organs, such as the brain and the spinal cord. For the sterile processing technician, understanding the axial skeleton is essential when preparing specialized instrument sets for neurosurgery and spinal fusions. The vertebral column, or spine, is a masterpiece of the axial division and is composed of 33 individual vertebrae. To accurately process spinal sets, technicians must recognize that the spine is categorized into 5 distinct regions, known as the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and coccyx. Each region has a unique shape and size that corresponds to its functional role in supporting the body. Spinal trays are among the most complex in the department because they contain numerous small components and specialized implants designed for these specific levels of the bone. By recognizing these structures, the technician ensures that delicate specialty retractors and high-speed drills are functional and ready for use. Extending from this central axis is the appendicular skeleton, which consists of the bones that form the upper and lower extremities, along with the shoulder and pelvic girdles. The shoulder girdle includes the clavicle and scapula, which connect the arms to the trunk, while the pelvic girdle supports the lower limbs. This division includes the long bones of the arms, such as the humerus, radius, and ulna, as well as the powerful bones of the legs, including the femur, tibia, and fibula. The appendicular skeleton is built for motion and weight-bearing, which makes it the primary focus of most orthopedic surgical procedures. Technicians often process heavy instrument sets containing plates, screws, and intramedullary nails specifically designed to repair fractures in these regions. For example, when a technician prepares for a hip arthroplasty, they must know that the procedure involves the femur and the pelvic bone. A deep knowledge of this skeletal division allows the technician to anticipate the need for specialized orthopedic power tools and fixation devices. By connecting anatomical knowledge with surgical practice, the sterile processing professional ensures that the clinical team has the exact tools required for a successful patient outcome. The skeletal system provides the body's rigid framework, but it is the muscular system that provides the power and force necessary to move that framework. These two systems work in perfect coordination to provide the human body with movement and stability. There are more than 600 individual muscles in the human body, and each one is designed for a specific task based on its location and structure. For the sterile processing technician, understanding the different types of muscle tissue is essential because many surgical instruments, like muscle retractors and tissue forceps, are specifically designed to interact with these specialized layers. The human body contains 3 distinct types of muscle tissue, which are categorized by their appearance and how they are controlled. To visualize these for our audio study, imagine the first type, which is skeletal muscle. These are attached directly to the bones and are responsible for all voluntary physical movements. They are also known as striated muscles because, if you were to look at them, they appear striped with long, parallel fibers. Because we can consciously control skeletal muscles, they allow us to perform complex actions, such as walking or lifting instrument trays. In the operating room, many surgeries involve cutting or suturing skeletal muscle, which requires the technician to provide high-quality, sharp, and durable instrumentation. The second type of tissue is smooth muscle, which is found in the walls of internal organs, such as the stomach and the bladder. These cells are spindle-shaped and do not have the striped appearance of skeletal muscle. Smooth muscles are considered involuntary because they are controlled by the autonomic nervous system and do not require conscious thought to function. They are responsible for moving food through the digestive tract or regulating the diameter of blood vessels. The third type of tissue is cardiac muscle, which is found exclusively in the walls of the heart. Like smooth muscle, cardiac muscle is involuntary, but it is designed with incredible endurance to pump blood throughout the body. Because these muscles are critical for life, procedures involving them require highly specialized cardiovascular instrument sets. The muscular system performs vital functions beyond simply moving the body. One of its most important roles is heat production, which is a byproduct of muscle activity. When muscles contract, they release energy in the form of heat, which helps maintain the internal body temperature at a constant and healthy level. If the body becomes too cold, the muscles will contract rapidly and involuntarily in a process known as shivering to generate additional heat. This thermoregulation is essential for the survival of the patient during long surgical procedures. To ensure these systems work together effectively, the body utilizes 2 types of connective tissues. A tendon is a strong, fibrous cord that connects a muscle to a bone to allow for movement. In contrast, a ligament is a tough band of tissue that connects one bone directly to another bone to provide joint stability. Understanding these distinctions is critical during orthopedic repairs so the technician can provide the correct specialized tools for these specific tissues. While the muscular system provides the power for movement, the nervous system acts as the complex communication and control network that coordinates all physical and mental activities. It serves as the internal wiring and the main computer processor of the human body. This system is scientifically divided into 2 primary parts, known as the central nervous system, CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, PNS. For the sterile processing technician, understanding the delicate nature of nervous tissue is critical because, unlike many other cells in the body, these cells do not regenerate easily after an injury occurs. To visualize the central nervous system for our audio study, imagine a high-security command center. This system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. The brain is the primary processor, housed safely within the protective vault of the skull. Extending down from the brain is the spinal cord, which serves as the main transmission cable running through the center of the vertebral column. To protect these vulnerable tissues, the body uses 3 specialized layers of membranes called meninges. Imagine a tough outer leather-like layer called the dura mater, a middle web-like layer called the arachnoid, and a very thin, delicate inner layer called the pia mater. These layers, along with cerebrospinal fluid, act as a shock absorber to protect the central processor from impact. The peripheral nervous system acts as the extensive network of wires that connect this command center to every other part of the body. For our audio map, visualize thousands of fine silver threads branching out from the spinal cord like the limbs of a tree. These nerves reach all the way to the tips of your fingers and toes to transmit sensory and motor information. Within this system is the autonomic nervous system, which manages involuntary functions like your heartbeat. This is further split into the sympathetic branch, which prepares the body for action during a fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic branch, which helps the body rest and digest during recovery. Surgical procedures involving the nervous system are among the most complex and high-stakes cases in the medical center. A common procedure is a craniotomy, where the surgeon must remove a portion of the skull to access the brain to treat tumors or injuries. These cases require specialized neurosurgical instrument sets, including high-speed drills and bipolar electrosurgical units. The sterile processing technician must ensure that every microscopic tool and delicate bone rongeur is perfectly cleaned and inspected under magnification. Because the nervous system controls vital functions, any technical error in instrument processing can have a devastating impact on the patient. By maintaining the perfect integrity of these tools, the technician directly supports the patient's ability to think, move, and survive. The delicate control of the nervous system is supported by the vital life support networks known as the circulatory and respiratory systems. These two systems work in continuous harmony to transport oxygen and nutrients while removing waste products. At the center of the circulatory system is the heart, which functions as a powerful muscular pump located in the center of the chest between the lungs. To visualize the heart for our audio study, imagine it as a dual pump with 4 distinct chambers. The 2 top chambers are the right and left atria, which receive blood coming back to the heart. The 2 bottom chambers are the right and left ventricles, which act as the primary engines to pump blood out. This muscle is so efficient that it beats more than 100,000 times every single day. To move blood effectively throughout the body, the circulatory system utilizes 3 distinct types of blood vessels. Arteries are thick-walled vessels designed to carry oxygenated blood away from the heart under high pressure. For the technician, this anatomy is the reason we process vascular clamps, which are designed to safely occlude these high-pressure vessels during surgery. Veins are thinner vessels that contain specialized valves to prevent the backflow of blood as they carry deoxygenated blood back toward the heart. Finally, capillaries are the smallest and most numerous vessels where the actual exchange of oxygen and nutrients occurs at the microscopic level. Sterile processing technicians manage this system by preparing specialized cardiovascular and vascular instrument sets which are essential for life-saving procedures like heart valve replacements. The respiratory system works directly with the circulatory system to provide the oxygen the blood needs to transport. This process begins as air enters the nose and mouth traveling through the pharynx, or throat, and the larynx, or voice box. To connect anatomy with our work, remember that the larynx is the destination for the laryngoscope, which is an instrument you will process frequently. From the larynx, air travels down the trachea, which is also known as the windpipe. The trachea is the anatomical structure supported by tracheostomy tubes, another critical item in our inventory. The trachea then branches into 2 smaller tubes known as the bronchi, which enter the lungs. Deep within the lungs, the bronchi branch out like the limbs of a tree ending in millions of tiny air sacs known as alveoli. These microscopic sacs are where oxygen passes into the blood and carbon dioxide is absorbed to be exhaled. The entire process of breathing is driven by a large dome-shaped muscle called the diaphragm, located at the base of the chest cavity. When the diaphragm contracts, it pulls air into the lungs, and when it relaxes, air is pushed out. Because respiratory tissues are highly sensitive, any surgical tool used in this system, such as a bronchoscope, must be inspected for smoothness and the absence of any sharp edges. By mastering the structure of these systems, the technician ensures that every instrument and device is safe and functional for the patient's survival. The energy required to power the body's systems is provided by the digestive system, while the waste generated by metabolic processes is managed by the urinary system. To visualize the digestive system for our audio study, imagine a long and continuous muscular tube known as the alimentary canal which stretches from the mouth down through the torso. This pathway begins at the mouth and travels through the esophagus to the stomach where food is mixed with powerful acids and enzymes. From the stomach, the partially digested material enters the small intestine. Although it is called small, this organ is actually approximately 20 feet long and serves as the primary site for nutrient absorption. The remaining waste then moves into the large intestine where water is reabsorbed before the waste is eliminated from the body. The successful digestion of food requires the assistance of several accessory organs located alongside this main tube. The liver, which is the largest internal organ, is responsible for producing bile to break down fats. This bile is stored and concentrated in the gallbladder until it is needed. The pancreas is another vital organ that produces digestive enzymes and insulin to regulate blood sugar levels. For the sterile processing technician, understanding this system is essential because procedures like the removal of the gallbladder, known as a cholecystectomy, are very common. These procedures often involve laparoscopic instruments and flexible endoscopes which travel through internal lumens and can harbor significant amounts of organic matter. Technicians must be experts in following specific instructions for use, IFU, to ensure these complex devices are safe for the next patient. Working in coordination with the digestive system is the urinary system which performs the vital task of filtering metabolic waste from the blood and maintaining fluid balance. At the center of this system are the two kidneys which act as the primary filtration units. To understand their incredible efficiency, imagine that your kidneys process approximately 200 quarts of blood every single day to remove waste and excess water. Within each kidney, there are millions of microscopic filtering units called nephrons that separate vital nutrients from cellular waste products. Beyond filtration, the kidneys also play a critical role in regulating blood pressure and producing hormones that stimulate red blood cell production. Once the kidneys have filtered the blood, the resulting urine travels through two long tubes known as the ureters to reach the urinary bladder where it is stored in the pelvic cavity. The final structure in this pathway is the urethra, which is the tube that carries urine from the bladder to the outside of the body. For the sterile processing technician, ensuring that urological instruments such as cystoscopes and ureteroscopes are perfectly clean is essential because the urinary tract is highly susceptible to infection. By mastering the anatomy and instrument names associated with these systems, the technician ensures that the surgical team has the exact tools necessary to maintain the nutritional and excretory health of every patient. While the digestive and urinary systems manage the body's fuel and waste, the reproductive and endocrine systems ensure the continuity of life and the precise chemical regulation of all biological processes. The reproductive systems are responsible for the production of specialized cells and hormones necessary for the continuation of human life. To visualize the male reproductive system for our audio study, imagine the prostate gland, which is a critical organ shaped like a walnut that completely surrounds the urethra at the base of the bladder. In the operating room, a common procedure is the transurethral resection of the prostate, or TURP. This procedure utilizes a specialized instrument called a resectoscope, which is a complex device that technicians must process with extreme care. Because the resectoscope travels through the sensitive urinary tract, the technician must ensure that its internal channels are free of all organic debris and that its electrical components are perfectly functional. The female reproductive system is composed of several internal organs, including the ovaries which produce eggs and hormones and the fallopian tubes which serve as the pathway to the uterus. The uterus is a powerful muscular organ designed to support the development of a fetus, and it is a frequent focus of gynecological surgeries. To visualize this for our work, imagine common procedures like a total hysterectomy for the removal of the uterus or a tubal ligation for permanent sterilization. These surgeries require specialized gynecological instrument sets that include uterine activators and delicate graspers designed for soft tissue handling. Because these tissues are extremely sensitive to contaminants, the sterile processing professional must ensure that every tool is carefully inspected for absolute cleanliness. Working alongside these systems is the endocrine system, which acts as the chemical regulatory network of the human body. Unlike other systems that use physical tubes, the endocrine system produces hormones and secretes them directly into the bloodstream to reach target organs. To visualize the endocrine map for our study, imagine the pituitary gland located at the base of the brain. It is only about the size of a pea, but it is known as the master gland because it controls the activities of almost all other endocrine glands. In the neck, imagine the thyroid gland, which is shaped like a butterfly and is responsible for regulating metabolism. Below in the torso, the adrenal glands sit like small caps atop each kidney, producing adrenaline to help the body respond to stress. The pancreas is a unique organ that functions as part of both the digestive and endocrine systems. In its endocrine role, it produces insulin to regulate blood sugar levels, while its digestive role involves secreting enzymes into the small intestine. Surgical procedures on these glands, such as a thyroidectomy, require extremely delicate instrumentation and careful handling of small tissue samples. By mastering the anatomy and instrument names associated with these systems, the sterile processing professional ensures that every specialized scope and delicate forceps is safe and ready for the unique needs of urology, gynecology, and endocrine surgeons. Having explored the internal chemical regulators of the body, we now reach the final boundary that separates the patient from their environment, which is the integumentary system and the sense organs that guide them. The integumentary system consists of the skin and its accessory structures, and it serves as the primary physical barrier for the human body. As the largest organ in the human body, the skin is responsible for protection against pathogens, regulation of body temperature, and the sensation of touch. To visualize the skin layers for our audio study, imagine 3 distinct levels stacked upon one another, starting from the surface and moving deep. The outermost protective layer is the epidermis, which serves as the patient's visible shield against the world. Directly beneath the epidermis is the dermis, which is a thicker middle layer containing the vital nerves and blood vessels that sustain the tissue. Finally, the deepest layer is the subcutaneous layer, which consists mainly of fatty tissue to provide insulation and cushioning for the body. Any break in this 3-layered system caused by an injury or a surgical incision creates a potential gateway for infection to enter. The sterile processing technician supports the integrity of this system by ensuring that all skin preparation tools and surgical drapes are processed according to the highest standards. The sense organs, which include the eyes and the ears, are highly specialized structures that allow the human body to interact with the world through sight and hearing. The eye is an incredibly delicate organ protected by the bony orbit of the skull, and it requires meticulous care during any surgical intervention. A critical safety concern for the sterile processing department is the prevention of toxic anterior segment syndrome, or TAS. This is a severe inflammatory reaction caused by chemical or mineral residues left on ophthalmic instruments after cleaning. Because the eye is so sensitive, even a microscopic amount of detergent or mineral residue from poor water quality can lead to permanent vision loss for the patient. Technicians must strictly follow specialized rinsing protocols and use critical water for the final rinse to ensure that eye instruments are perfectly safe for use. The ear is a complex sensory organ responsible for both the sense of hearing and the maintenance of physical balance. It is divided into 3 functional sections known as the outer ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear. To visualize the middle ear for our study, imagine a small air-filled chamber containing the 3 smallest bones in the human body, which are known as the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. Surgical procedures in the ear often involve microsurgery, where doctors use powerful microscopes and extremely tiny instruments to repair these delicate structures. The sterile processing technician must use lighted magnification to inspect these tiny ear instruments for any signs of damage or hidden organic debris. By mastering the anatomy and the specific instrument names associated with these systems, the technician ensures that every patient receives the highest level of care. This deep understanding of the human body from the largest organ to the smallest bone transforms the work of the sterile processing professional into a vital contribution to patient safety and successful recovery. This concludes our study of Chapter 3.